everybody. Welcome to 2 Minutes and Beyond, the podcast where we review the Toy Story movies 2 minutes at a time. I'm Bianca, and this is Macy.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. In this episode, we're talking about minutes 37 and 38 of Toy Story.
I'm really excited to talk about this episode or this clip because there's so much neat stuff in here.
There is. I really like this scene. I mean, it's not... like, when you're watching it, it's not like something that you like pick out everything because you're just watching. You're like, oh, it's an arcade, but there's like a lot of stuff.
There's a lot.
These 2 minutes start off with Buzz and Woody running into Pizza Planet wearing a Supernova burger box and a Mega Gulp cup to hide themselves. They stop and stand still when a couple of kids run by. Buzz gets up and runs into Woody, who angrily points the cup straw at Buzz and says, "Watch where you're going." Buzz apologizes, and they run in between a couple of arcade cabinets. Buzz and Woody take off their disguises, and Buzz sees something and runs towards the edge of the arcade machines with a look of amazement.
So, I have a lot of questions about this part. And literally none of them I'd ever thought about until like a couple days ago watching this clip.
Oh gosh.
But for one, do they just take the time to like cut out or tear out the bottom of the cup in the box?
I know, I thought of that too, because I mean, people don't normally do that. Like, when they're done, you're not just like, oh, it's time to cut out the bottom of the cup or the bottom of my burger box.
So did Buzz and Woody just take a few minutes to like find a knife in the trash can or something? Just
Either that or
take
more
a minute or two to
disgusting.
slice out the bottom.
I
What?
know, or more disgusting, they found one that was already like rat eaten and they just used that
no.
one.
Which that was another thing I thought of too. Was like, that's so unsanitary. Like, I know toys can't get sick or anything, but you pass on those germs to Andy.
Exactly. Not just that. The thing that bothered me watching it was, I understand Woody fitting in the cup, but I don't understand Buzz fitting in the burger box.
That
I feel
was
like he
another
would
thing
stick
I
out.
was going to bring up. When he says sorry and he opens up the box as he's talking,
And he's like talking with the box.
If you pause it, you can see him in there, and he's like bent over.
Oh gosh.
In a way that makes absolutely no sense. Like you can pause it and see him inside the box for like a millisecond, and it's just it makes no physical sense.
Also, why would you go through that much effort to open the box when you say sorry?
Yes, and why does Woody do the straw thing, like move the straw? Because they can't see each other. And speaking of that, how do they know where they're going? Because they can't see anything.
Exactly. Maybe Woody poked a couple of eye holes in the cup and Buzz is just following wherever he hears Woody's running.
But you would be able to see the eye holes, I feel like.
True.
Like, I don't see anything on there.
I don't know.
Unless Woody's built a periscope or something inside of that straw.
In the cup. The straw. All of that would have taken...
a couple of tiny little mirrors.
That would have taken so long. Andy would have already been back home and sad. And it's like, Sid would have been gone. They would have been stuck at Pizza Planet.
It just doesn't make any sense. Also, I like when Buzz bumps into Woody. Woody says, "Watch where you're going," and Buzz says sorry, and then like 2 seconds later, Woody runs into one of the arcade cabinets.
Yeah. I love that part. When I was younger, me and my sister and my brother would always laugh at that part because it was just so dumb looking. It's just like he just runs into the arcade.
Well, he tells Buzz to watch where he's going, and then he doesn't do the same.
I know. It's just like I don't know. I guess they did that on purpose just to make it look funny.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. We always laughed at that part.
I was wondering too about, because I was confused at first because the Mega Gulp cup says 128 ounces on it, and it, just from looking at it, it looks like a normal medium-sized cup. Like, it looks like this cup that I'm drinking tea out of right now that people listening can't see, but it's about the size of like a normal medium-sized fast food cup.
Yeah,
And
like a
but
24
then I
ounce.
realized,
But
okay, so Woody is what, about 16 inches tall?
yeah.
And then when he stands up, his feet come out like an inch or two. So that cup must be at least 13 or 14 inches, which is
Hmm.
about the width of my MacBook screen.
So
So
maybe it's like a 32
that's a
ounce.
well, it's definitely a bigger size cup than just a normal, like a 24-ounce fast food cup. Like, it
But it
could
can't be
potentially be 128
128
ounces.
because that's a gallon. I don't think he'd be in a gallon cup.
Oh, is it?
And that's like a KFC bucket.
It reminds me of an episode of the show Parks and Recreation. I don't know how much of that show you've watched, where they have the Paunch Burger fast food soda cup that they
Hmm.
call the child size, and it's literally like a small bucket basically,
Oh
and they're like,
god.
how is this child size? And the lady explains, well, it's because it could fit a small child inside
Oh
of it.
gosh. That reminds me of, I don't remember if it was on the news or what, but you know how 7-Eleven used to do like their free slushy or whatever, just bring your own cup and you can fill it up. These two girls
Mhm.
actually got KFC buckets and they took it and they filled up the KFC buckets full of the slushy. And I'm just like, after that, you would have had to have stopped that because that's way too much for one person.
That's gaming the system right there.
Exactly. I'm like, after that, I'm pretty sure they're like, okay, we're not doing this anymore.
I Googled it, and that 128 ounces is a gallon.
Oh my gosh, yes, because it's
So I
like
assume that must be a joke, but generally, just based on the size of Woody, that would be, it's still like an above average sized
cup
cup.
size. Yeah, that's a pretty big cup.
And then I assumed that if the if the cup is that big, then the burger box must be like for a pretty large burger as well. It's the Supernova burger, so maybe that's why it's called the Supernova burger, because it's a giant burger.
Maybe. That's really crazy though. Like that's really something of the 90s. Like that's so 90s cuz in the 90s everything was huge, but now in today's standards cuz like all these laws have been passed, you can't have like something that's too big unless like it's like a specialty store or something. Like McDonald's can't just be like, "Oh, quadruple decked Big Mac" or something like that.
We should move on to the
We
next
should
thing.
move on. Okay, so at the 20-second mark, we see a big interior shot of Pizza Planet's arcade with a bunch of kids running around and playing arcade games. A mission control area with screens showing different images, a Pizza Planet sign, and a ceiling with stars and silhouettes of spaceships and satellites. Buzz exclaims, "What a spaceport! Good work, Woody." Woody looks around anxiously for Andy and sees a kid playing a game called Planet Killer, a girl getting alien slime from a dispenser shaped like an alien, and another kid playing Whack an Alien.
That opening shot is really cool.
It is, I do like it.
According to the audio commentary, animator Rex Grignon animated that big opening shot of the interior of Pizza Planet. It had 17 humans in it.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty impressive.
That is
I
very
mean,
impressive.
Before I say everything else I have to say about that shot, though, let me make it clear, though, that one, it is really impressive for the time, and I'm not saying that he did a bad job at all. I'm just saying that it was human animation in 1995.
Oh, yeah. No, for
Because if
sure.
you
The
look
humans.
closely at those people, all those 17 humans, there's a kid. There are kids sitting in the rocket ride game. It's like one of those things where you put coins in and you ride inside of a rocket that just goes back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
None of those kids look like they have torsos or they have legs.
Oh, gosh. They probably
It's like
don't.
they just have torsos and their bodies end. Because
Oh, gosh.
there's nowhere inside the rockets for their legs to go.
That's true.
And there's one kid, he jumps into the rocket, like, he just jumps in, and I couldn't really tell if before he jumps in if he has legs, but it kinda didn't look like it. It kinda looked like he was just standing behind to hide the fact that he doesn't have
Oh,
any.
gosh.
And then he just, like, jerks back and forth on the rocket really fast. And then a girl in one of the other rockets, she's, like, got her got her arms and her head going back and forth. She looks like she's at a concert, just headbanging like.
Yeah, she looks like she's having a little bit too much fun in that rocket. I'm like, oh, sweet baby child, you need to calm down.
All of the kids in the scene are again copies of Andy, it looks like, or all the girls in the scene look like copies of Sid's sister Hannah.
Oh, gosh. I didn't even notice the girls. I just paid attention to, like, oh, yeah, they all look like Andy. But I never paid attention to
There's
the
a
girls.
there's a couple of adults in the scene too, and they just look
I
very
don't
weird.
like, yeah, I don't like the way the adults look.
I want to talk about all the games in the arcade cabinets in this scene
Oh, yeah.
because they're really cool. So the first two that you see, like when Buzz and Woody are still in their cup and burger box disguises, you see a cabinet with a picture of, I guess it's a wombat popping out of the ground, wearing like
Yes.
an army helmet and a dog tag and like shooting a machine gun. And if you look later in the scene, you can see that a different cabinet with the same game, and it's called Combat Wombat. And
I
there's
always
also
loved that.
I never paid much attention to them, but there's also in that same shot a game called Scooter Attack, which has a picture on the side of the arcade cabinet of a guy like on a bike that shoots bullets out of the headlights, and there's like bullet shells flying off the side. And
I
then
feel like that would
there's
be
a
a fun
bunch of
game to
them
play,
that
though.
maybe, I don't know. There's another one called Kabuki, which has a picture on the side of a superhero with a K on his outfit that looks like he's about to jump on some like red devil or some kind of red horned creature.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them that you only see the names and you don't see any of the artwork. But there's one called Annihilation, another one called Hurl, which is the one that Andy's standing in front of when they first see him again.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one called Do Unto Others. There's one that doesn't have a name, it just has a picture of like a rocket ship flying through space. And all of these, there's several copies of them throughout the arcade, and they all have different gameplay in air quotes showing on on the screens. It looks like they just animated like some little bits of gameplay of like different looking games and then just randomly put them on whichever cabinet, because a lot of the what's actually happening on the screen does not match up with the name of the game or the
It
artwork on the
doesn't,
side.
yeah. When you look at the game, you're like, that shouldn't be in that cabinet.
I saw on one of the cabinets that had Scooter Attack, it was like some first person racing game on the screen, but then I saw the same game playing on the Hurl cabinet, which I thought was funny. I also noticed on the Hurl cabinet that on the game over screen it said game over, dude.
Another very 90s thing.
Yes. There's also some other games, like there's the Rocket Ride games like we talked about that just kind of, they're just little rockets that kind of go back and forth. And there's a game called Planet Killer, which looks like there's this, you shoot this big gun at this little planet model, and it's got some neat art on the side of like a planet exploding. And then there's of course Whack-A-Alien, inspired by is it the movie Alien where the alien bursts out of the guy's chest?
Yes. That movie gave me nightmares as a child.
I've never seen it because I know it would do the same to me.
Yes, please don't watch it. As much as I love the alien
just
design,
looks disturbing.
Yes, as much as I love the alien design, like the concept of the alien, I hate the movies because they freak me out.
Well, this game just seems disturbing because it's like an astronaut guy like laying on the machine, and he's got all these holes and like blood in his chest where
And with
the
all the
aliens
aliens
pop
coming
out, and
out,
he's got
and
this,
it's like,
like pained look on his face.
I know. I'm like,
And
why did
it's
that
just
make it to
disturbing.
why did that become a child's game? It's like, this should not be at Pizza Planet.
Oh, I like the alien slime things, although I think we talked about last week how I was absolutely terrified of arcades as a child.
Oh,
And
yeah.
those things, like, I wouldn't have gone near those things. But they're really cool.
You know, knowing me as a child, I would have been scared too because they look a little bit like the xenomorph alien. I would have been
Yeah, I
like,
think
first
that
of
was
all,
probably intentional.
I know. And I'm like, first of all, I would not want to eat the slushy that's coming out of his mouth first because gross. It looks like vomit. Second of all, in the movie, the aliens spit out like acid and their blood is concentrated acid. I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to burn a hole in my
Oh,
stomach.
they're having kids eat alien acid.
I know. I'm like, that doesn't seem healthy or safe.
I bet it's just some kind of like 7-Eleven slush or something.
Probably
Something like
like
that.
green apple or something like that. I'm like, no, it's acid.
I wonder if it somehow comes in different flavors.
Maybe.
If you can only get the green flavor. Or if like maybe each little alien slime stand is a different flavor
Maybe.
or something.
And you just have to figure out which flavor you want, but it's all the same color, which would be very confusing.
Or it could be different colors, but we only see the one.
Yeah, that's true. Should just make it mystery
And the
flavor.
girl who goes the girl who gets some alien slime is one of the girls who's just a copy of Hannah.
Oh gosh.
So the kid who's playing Whack-A-Alien, the little redheaded kid, it looks like they just took baby Molly's curly hair and turned it red and put it on him.
They probably did.
It's
I feel
probably what they
like
did.
to save time, you don't need to make another baby. Just slap some different hair on the same model.
Well, it's an Andy clone, so it's not a baby. They just put Molly's hair on it and turned
Oh,
it
okay.
red.
I'm sorry. I
Or on
was like,
him, I should say.
I just had a moment. But they do that a lot.
Good.
They do reuse a lot of their stuff, which makes sense because it's like, why spend more time making more stuff if you're just gonna, you know.
Mhm. Did you happen to get a good look at the stuff on the screens above, like, the mission control area? Because I kinda forgot to do that.
I
There's, like,
didn't. I was caught in the
a
moment.
countdown to I'm looking at it right now, and there's, like, a countdown to the next launch, which I wonder if it's, like, the same countdown that the guy outside the voice outside was announcing, like, when
Hmm.
they, with the big rocket ship outside?
Probably. And I want to know what that does. Like, is it like a special or is it just like a show? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a little, but, like, does the rocket ship do something? Or
Exactly.
is it
Like,
just like or is it just, like, the wait times for tables or something?
maybe. Because that would make more sense. Like, I understand because it's all like space themed. They want to do something with that. But I'm like, if it's just the rocket that's kind of like just blowing steam everywhere, people are going to be like, that's kind of dumb.
It would be neat if it somehow, like, I don't know, maybe it moved up and down a little bit? I don't know.
Right? If it had like a whole
Maybe it's,
hydraulic
like,
system
on
that just lifted it.
yeah, something like that, or if it's on some kind of pole that it
Hmm.
moves up and down just slightly.
That would be pretty cool. I would like to see that.
I feel like the lighting in this scene is doing a lot of the heavy lifting just
I
in
think so
in
too.
just making this scene look good. Cause if you try to imagine it, like, there's a lot of neat stuff in there, but without the lighting, it would look a lot more bare bones, I feel like.
I think so too. And I think they really like made an effort to make the lighting look good just so it could like make it look more authentic like a real arcade.
Mhm. And it does look really neat.
I like the lighting
There's
in
all these,
Pizza
like,
Planet.
purples and blues.
It has more of like a
Yeah,
cool
and, like,
theme.
green.
At the 38-second mark, suddenly Woody hears Andy begging his mom to let him play Black Hole. He turns around to see Andy, Mom, and Molly behind them on the other side of the arcade cabinets and exclaims, "Andy!" Buzz starts to walk away, saying that he needs to find the ship that's headed for Sector 12, but Woody frantically grabs him and leads him through the arcade cabinets towards Andy. Woody says, "There's a special ship, I just saw it." Buzz asks, "You mean it has hyperdrive?" Woody responds, "Hyperactive hyperdrive." And turf. Woody looks around the corner and waits for Andy and his family to walk by. Buzz mutters, "Where is it? I don't see it." But then he sees the Crane Game rocket ship and excitedly yells, "Spaceship!" and runs off while Woody isn't paying attention. That's like such a child move.
I know, I was gonna say, like, Buzz is like a small child where you can't take your eyes off of them for 2 seconds or they'll run off and just do whatever they wanna do.
Honestly, yes. And I've actually babysat some kids where they're like 2 or 3 and you look away for a second. Like literally, when people say, "I just looked away for a second," yes, they get into trouble that fast.
Mhm. The AstroTurf thing is one of those jokes that I definitely didn't understand as a child.
That I didn't either until I
But
got
it's so
older. I'm
funny.
just like, oh my gosh.
So hyperactive hyperdrive
That's pretty
is pretty
fast.
funny too.
I feel like Woody's trying his hardest
He's not
to make it
wrong.
sound. I
Like
mean,
Andy
yeah,
and
but
Molly are both.
they're pretty hyper.
Yeah, I mean Andy and Molly are both pretty hyperactive.
I feel like anything that would make it sound like, oh yeah, this is great. Like, just please come over here.
Yeah.
And he's trying. He's
I
a sad little cowboy that's trying.
He's a sad, strange little man.
He has Buzz's pity.
Yes. But one of my favorite things that happens in like all of the Toy Story movies is when you get to see like areas that in normal life you would never get to see, like especially from the perspective of a toy. Like here they're running between between all of the arcade cabinets, and then in a minute they're like inside of the crane machine. And then,
Yeah.
like, I think about in Toy Story 3 when Buzz is climbing up through the snack machine. The stuff
Oh,
like
yeah,
that
that
I really
too.
like. That's really cool.
I know, because as a child, I've always wanted to get inside of a crane game because I was that kid. I just never actually got stuck in one.
Yeah, I was just like, I wanna be, 16 inches tall or whatever and just be able to walk around in these tiny little spaces
Oh,
that
I
the
know, and
toys can get
climb
into.
around and everything. That was like the dream, to just go crazy and climb everything.
Mhm.
I feel bad for Woody because he's trying so hard to get back to Andy, and he's trying to keep Buzz with him. And Buzz has his own little mission going on. And he's like, no, stop
Yeah.
it.
It's like, I don't see the spaceship that Woody's talking about, but there's this one over here. I'm gonna just run off and go to that one instead.
I know, like totally disregarding what Woody's saying. It's like, dude, he's trying to help you. He's actually trying to help
I mean, he's
himself.
not really.
He's
Yeah, I was
not.
gonna say he's not trying to help Buzz actually, but he's just trying to get back to Andy's room. But yeah,
That's true. Should we move on?
yes, let's move on.
Okay. At the 1 minute, 5 second mark, Andy gets closer to Woody and Buzz, and Woody says, okay, Buzz, when I say go, we're going to jump in the basket. He turns around to see Buzz running off towards the rocket ship crane game and yells, Buzz! Buzz jumps into the flap where the prizes come out, and Woody raises his hands in anger, watches Andy walk away, and angrily says, this cannot be happening to me. He starts to go after Buzz, but has to quickly hide from a person walking by. I feel his
Woody is
frustration in
very
this.
yeah, he's I was gonna say he's very relatable.
He
This
is,
cannot be happening to me.
especially when you just have one of those days where everything is going wrong and you want to ask yourself what else can go wrong, but you also know better not to do that because something else will go wrong.
And it's like literally everything's just about to work out the way he wants it to. Andy is right there. All they would have had to do is jump into the stroller basket and Buzz runs off.
That would, yeah.
They were so
Especially
close.
when it's so close, that makes it even worse. And you're just like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. That's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, poor Woody.
How are they not going to be seen jumping into the stroller basket?
Or into the crane
Like, what
game.
was his plan there?
I
Well,
know. And
that
then
too, but also, like, mom is pushing the stroller and Andy's right there. Were they just gonna wait until they were looking away or something?
I know. And then you think about it like, is mom like, Does she have such bad peripheral vision that she wouldn't have looked down and saw the toys crawling into the basket? Like, I would have freaked out. I would have been like, okay, I found your 2 toys, but there's a little problem
But
here.
they weren't there 2 seconds ago.
Not just that, if she saw them crawling in, I would have been like, okay, I need to lay off of something because this is freaking me out.
Need to lay off the drugs.
Exactly. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? Like,
Well, we
you
know
need to
she's
keep.
doing drug deals at the Dynaco.
She is. You know what? She's probably taking her own products.
Oh
We're
gosh,
just
poor
making her
mom.
out to a horrible person.
I know, I feel bad.
I know, because she's like a pretty decent mom. It's not like she's like abusing her kids or anything, and she's actually like taking care of them. She took them to Pizza
I
Planet.
know, it seems like they have a good relationship.
I know, and they're like joking with each other. Like Andy and his mom seem to get along really well. The baby's always happy, so it's like she's living like this dark second life. That's pretty
Oh
sad.
gosh. Well, it's like I
Poor
said
mom.
in that one episode, that's how she's able to afford that really nice house as a single mother.
I know, and then she's not
The nice
working, or at
house that
least
they move into.
I really don't think she's working, so it's very
I
plausible.
mean, I'm sure she is. Maybe she's got child support from Andy and Molly's dad, or if he's passed away, maybe like his life insurance or something. I don't know.
Man, he's got really good insurance.
I don't know.
Oh gosh, or maybe she's a realtor. Maybe she makes a lot of money selling homes.
Maybe she does. Maybe that's why they worked with virtual realty. Maybe she's the one who actually sold the house.
She sold her own house. She's moving on
Yeah,
up. I've
that could
always
be.
wondered that, like, if a realtor wanted to sell their house, do they just sell their own house and put it like for sale by owner, or do they go through the company and have somebody else sell their house?
I have no idea. I don't know anything about realty, so
I know. I'm gonna have to ask my cousin. My cousin was actually my cousin's wife. She's a realtor. I'm gonna have to ask her about that.
I would be curious to know that as well.
Okay, so I think we can move on now. At the 1 minute 19-second mark, Buzz jumps over the top of the prize chute and is greeted by a bunch of green aliens with 3 eyes and an antenna on top of their heads. One of them says, "A stranger," and another one says, "From the outside." And then they all say, "Ooh," in unison. Buzz says, "Greetings, I am Buzz Lightyear. I come in peace." And they all start to gather closer around him. I just want to say that I really love the aliens.
I do too. But before I talk about the aliens, I want to talk about so there's a shot where you see Buzz at the bottom of the prize chute, just standing there, and the chute looks very tall, like easily twice Buzz's height, something like that. But then the
Yeah.
next shot, suddenly he's somehow halfway up, standing halfway up the chute, and he just jumps over the side. And I'm like, what? What are
Maybe
you
he really
standing on
can fly.
in the second shot? I don't know. They cheated it a little bit. And then later when Woody gets in and it looks like he's just standing like with his arms crossed over the side, but there's
Hmm.
no way his feet are reaching to the bottom.
He's probably dangling and he's just holding on like that.
Well, he must have better upper arm strength than it looks like because he's got like his arms
Folded
on the
over the
top of it.
edge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And it doesn't look like he's like struggling to hold himself up or anything.
I know. This whole movie has just been a whole bunch of questions, so I don't know why we're even questioning this.
Because it's fun.
This is true. It's very fun to just nitpick.
We're
Oh my
also,
gosh.
this whole podcast, we're just ruining this movie for ourselves.
We should
Both
have just,
gaining a deeper appreciation for it and simultaneously ruining it.
yes, we could have just called this podcast We Ruin Movies for You, starting with our favorite movie.
I should call this episode We Ruined Toy Story for You.
Yes. And another thing, I just thought of this. If Buzz is so adamant that he could fly, why doesn't he just fly to Sector 12?
Well, I assume maybe it's too far away. He needs a ship that can go to light speed or whatever.
Maybe. Or you
And he
would
just
think,
can't
like,
fly
if you
through
can just.
space like that on his own.
True, but if you get into the outer orbit of the Earth and there's a space station, they could give you a ship and then you can get to Sector 12.
You know what? I just thought about how the beginning of Toy Story 2 with the Buzz Lightyear video game is just he's flying down to the planet,
Yeah.
just him by himself. He's not in a ship or anything. I don't
Either
know
that
if
or
he
he left his
maybe
ship, like,
was in a
outside of
ship
the.
and then left the ship and landed by himself. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's so silly because it's like, that's continuity error right there.
But then that makes me think that it must be Sector 12 is too far away for him to fly there on his own, and that's why he needs a ship. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
It's like light years away, and he needs a ship that can jump to light speed or something.
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope he figures it out and I hope he gets there fine.
Although he's not going to, but that's
He's
okay
not. He's really not.
because it's not real.
Although he thinks it is.
But it's
Also, I
still not
wonder
real.
if he. It's not. I also wonder if he kind of freaked out when he saw all the aliens inside the spaceship. Like maybe he thought, like, oh, I'm in a wrong ship.
Well, he thought the ship belonged to them, like it was their ship. He said, "I need to commandeer your vessel."
Mm-hmm.
It's like in a, I don't know, video game like Grand Theft Auto or something, and you just steal somebody's car. Or like the game I've been playing, LA Noire, where you're a police officer, and if you crash your car, you just take somebody else's car and go do whatever you have to do.
Oh my gosh, that's great. He's probably going to commit Grand Theft Auto and he's going to. It's Grand Theft Spaceship.
But then he does, so at least in his mind, it's like he says, it's a galactic emergency. Like earlier in the movie, he says, now the whole universe is in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
So he absolutely needs, at least in his mind, he absolutely needs a ship to get to Sector 12 to save all of the universe from being destroyed.
Well, I'm glad somebody cares.
Yes.
I also like how the aliens are just very bland, flat characters, but they're so lovable. Like they have no other purpose than to just go ooh at everything.
I have said before, not on this podcast, but just in the past, that the aliens are the proto Despicable Me minions.
Oh gosh.
They're like all of the same character, basically. I mean, the minions have more. They don't all look identical, but if Facebook had existed in 1995, then you would have seen You have seen like middle-aged moms posting
Oh,
quotes
the
with
little aliens,
aliens being
yes.
like, "Man, I can't wait for the weekend," stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And I do think that the minions were largely based off of it because there are kind of like minion traits even in the aliens, but more so like just like, oh yeah, we'll follow you or whatever.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of them that all look the same, and they're like kind of the comic relief characters,
Mm
and they all have weird voices,
hmm.
and like they're kind of breakout stars of Toy Story, much like the minions from Despicable Me
Mm
became
hmm.
popular from that movie. Although the aliens haven't gotten their own movie, which they should.
They should have their own movie. You know what? I say that we should get an alien movie. Or at least call it Little Green Men or something.
Yes.
Okay, so at the minute 38-second mark, it cuts to Woody, who waits for a couple of kids to pass by before running to the rocket crane game and jumping inside. Inside the rocket, Buzz tells the aliens, "This is an intergalactic emergency. I need to commandeer your vessel to Sector 12. Who's in charge here?" All the aliens point up and answer, "The Claaaw," in unison, and the camera pans up to reveal the machine's claw hanging from above. One alien explains, "The Claw is our master," and another adds, "Claw chooses who," and then the 2 minutes end there.
Yeah, it's just like clutches is who. I
Sometimes I don't like where
have
it ends.
the way the next clip that we're about to record in our next episode ends is really funny,
Yeah.
but I don't like when it cuts off in the middle of a line like that.
Yeah.
I have some history of the aliens from our sacred text, Toy Story: The Art and Making of the Animated Feature, if you'd
Ooh,
like to hear that.
I sure would.
So on page 72, it talks about how Pixar had a brain trust meeting where they only had like an hour to try and strengthen weak spots in the narrative. They had both guys from Pixar and a couple of guys from Disney Animation there, and it says the Toy Story team's biggest worry that day was what to do about the scene in which Buzz tumbles into a coin operated game filled with little Pizza Planet mascots. We'd already tried having them be little bears and slices of pizza with sunglasses, says Jason Katz, but we'd finally settled on the game being a big rocket ship with spacemen inside to give Buzz a reason to be drawn to it. What to do, though, with those aliens? Session after session back at Pixar had yielded no usable gags or character design. At first, no promising solutions emerged. Then somebody, it might have been Gary Trousdale, but no one seems to remember for sure, said the words, "The Claw." Why not make the game's mechanical pickup mechanism the center of the little alien toys' world? We began battling back and forth every mindless sect out of every movie we could think of, says Stanton. Don't fight the claw, do the will of the claw, and on and on. We started talking about South American cargo cults, adds John Lasseter. These aliens had never seen the outside world, so they might be like those rainforest tribes who see a plane and wind up worshipping it as a deity.
That's pretty intense.
They are like a cult.
Yeah, they're like a little cult, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like a threatening cult.
I mean, it seems pretty harmless, I guess.
I mean, because they just have it within themselves. They're not like throwing out little
They're not
alien
leaving the
missionaries to
crane
go like,
game.
exactly. They're not trying to like recruit more people into their cult.
Yeah. It also says that Chris Sanders designed them,
Oh, thank
and
you,
I
Chris
like their
Sanders.
design. Yeah. And of course they're all voiced by Jeff Pigeon,
Thank you,
who
Jeff
did a lot
Pigeon.
of the random voices, in this movie. This has nothing to do with the aliens, but I also like when Woody jumps into when Woody's running toward the claw machine.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear the guy on the speaker system saying, "Re-energize yourself with a slice of pepperoni."
Yeah. I love how
I
they're
always thought
just
that was pretty
like,
funny.
I love how even in the restaurant, it's like they're already there. Why are you advertising your own food to people who are already eating at your restaurant?
Exactly. But going back to the aliens, because I grew up watching the 2D animated Buzz Lightyear Star Command movie, I
Mm-hmm.
always thought that the aliens were meant to be part of the Buzz Lightyear universe because
Maybe.
they're in that movie and in that show, except there they call them the Little Green Men,
Mm-hmm.
and they have this thing called the Unimind, which is brought down by a claw, and the Unimind is what like allows them to like think and feel in unison. And I guess I did know that they were like Pizza Planet mascots too, but as a kid I always thought that they were meant to be like from Buzz's cartoon, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then like why wouldn't he recognize them? I mean, maybe he does and he's just like, "Oh yeah, these alien guys, I know about them," you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't comment on it, but
I feel like maybe like in his mind, he's already seen like so many different kinds of aliens. So he's like, oh, that's fine. It's an alien. I'm not worried about it. Because
yeah, I
that's
mean like
like, when you're a
if they
space
were
ranger, you're
from
going to
his
see different
universe,
aliens. Yeah.
and if they were from his universe, then he'd be like, well, yeah, I see these guys all the time.
Yeah. So he's probably like, oh, it's whatever. These people, I know them. So.
Yeah. In the show, I think they have their own home planet, and but then at Star Command, they're like they're like the tech guys.
Mm-hmm.
They build the robot XR, and they're very efficient because they think and like speak together with one mind, the Unimind,
I honestly wish we
which
had
makes
the
them very good at their
Unimind.
job.
Yes, I wish we had the Unimind at my job. That would make
That
my
would be
life so much
nice.
easier. Oh, goodness. Then again, I wouldn't want to know what some people are thinking. Like, what if you put it on and someone else is not prepared and you're just like, oh, didn't need to know that.
Or like they secretly don't like you
I know. And then
and
you just realize that.
they're thinking things about you
Yeah. And
that
you're
you
like, oh,
shouldn't
yeah,
be hearing.
Janet, you want to go? You want to clock out and meet in the parking lot?
So I guess before we wrap up, I have a quote from, again, our sacred texts, about the design of a Pizza Planet itself,
Mm-hmm.
the building. This is from pages 67 and 68, and the name of the modeler that it mentions here, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce. It's his first name is Demir, and then the last name is spelled Frkovic, and I don't know how to pronounce that. So whatever they
Oh, okay.
say his last name, I'm just gonna say Demir instead. Sorry.
It's okay.
If to Demir, if you're listening, I'm sorry. It says modeler Demir in the name that I can't pronounce. Task was to translate Cohn's detailed hand-drawn room schematics of each beam, floor tile, and wall panel into an elaborate computer realm construction job. As with any construction project, the Pizza Planet specs envisioned in 2 dimensions didn't always work so well in 3. Demir had to do some fiddling with the restaurant's proportions to keep them pleasingly spherical, yet he also pushed its shape in ways impossible with an actual set. Says Demir, in terms of structural integrity, we cheat a lot. That big, enormous neon Pizza Planet sign on top of the rings would break right through the roof if you built it the way we show it.
I mean, yeah, it would. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that sign's really huge.
Yeah. It doesn't make any physical sense.
No, it doesn't. It's not physically possible for it to be where it is. Like he said, everything would have collapsed.
Yeah.
But I do like the structure or like the design of the Pizza Planet, and I like that they made it look the way they did. It is actually like visually pleasing, but it's not physically possible.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's very I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's really neat.
It
That's all I
is.
have to say.
It's neat. I just think it's neat.
Like that Marge Simpson meme.
Yes. You're just holding Pizza Planet in your hand.
I just think it's neat. Well, that's all I have about this clip.
Yeah, me too. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks for listening, everyone. Be sure to follow our Facebook and Twitter accounts and send us an email if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.